This is Intro to Java, class 3. In this class, we're supposed to take a pancake recipe and turn it into a Java code where you input the amount of servings that you want, and then you'd get back the recipe. So the first thing we're going to do is to open up NetBeans. And so for this project, we had a pancake recipe, and this is the pancake recipe right here. And this is just like a reiteration of the last project, which was displaying the pancake recipe, but also showing with the amount of servings, and creating like a recipe that can serve up to 600 people. But in this project, you would put in the amount of like the amount of cups you have, baking powder, and salt, and how many people it's going to serve. So the first thing that we did, and the most important thing was the difference between this one and the last one was that it has user input, but instead of just inputting whatever the keyboard is typing, whatever the user is typing, you're typing more than just one number. So let's just look back at what we did last time at the pancake recipe right here. So the pancake recipe has 3 components. It has this is the reference code, which was going to be where all the information is. So for flour, so let's look at the recipe first. So for the recipe is 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 3.5 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of sugar, 1.25 cups of milk, 1 egg, and 3 tablespoons of butter melted. So you had to take this recipe and to look at the flour, the baking powder, and each ingredient, and to turn it into a number, an integer. So that's what's important about pancake measurements. This is the rate, and all these numbers here is what's going to be referenced in the main code, which is right here. So the most important thing was to take the information that was given in the recipe and to put it here. So now it's the flour is 1.5, baking powder 3.5, salt is 0.25, sugar is 1, milk 1.25, egg 1, and then 3. So now that we have those numbers, we needed a way to, it wasn't just taking the information from here and bringing it back to the main source code. We also needed to have another method, another class, where it would allow the user to type in whatever they wanted, whatever number it is, and then it would take all that information and then put it into a recipe. So what this one does, it gets the double. The double is like the integer, the number, whatever they type in. It can be a string, but right now we're working on numbers, so it would be get in and get double. And that's the most important part of this, because we wanted to get the information from the keyboard and to put it into the source code. So let's run it to see how it works. So it's asking us to enter the measurement of the flour. The thing about this project is if you wanted to serve like around 300 people, you would have to know how much flour you would need. So let's just use as if we're going to serve 600 people. And that number would be 56.25 cups. And because it's 56.25, you wouldn't put 56 and 1/4. You would just have to put the number into like a decimal form. So let's type in 56.25 and then press enter. So the fact that it's putting the number twice, this above is showing that this is what we typed in, but now it's repeating it to show that that number is now being remembered, like it's being stored into the code. So now let's type in the measurement for the baking powder, and for 600 people, that's 131.25. Okay, now we have salt, and that's going to be 9.375. And then sugar is 35.5. 37 and a half. The milk is 46. The egg is 37.5. And then the butter is 112 and a half tablespoons. And then it just gives us the recipe for 600. Yeah. And for the last project, it was the main project was based off of the currency converter, and so I did the same thing with the currency converter. I did the pancake converter first because it was a lot easier, and then I just like took the main parts, like the main components, and then just put it back in the second one. So it should look the same. So this is the source code for, or like the main code for for the currency converter, and then the main code to the pancake. They should look a lot similar because it's basically the same thing, except now instead of working with ingredients, we're working with the currency rates of different countries, or digital currency. So in the currency converter, we have conversion rates amount, the message. So the message is right here in the rates. This is the message. And that's when it asks us enter the measurement of, or enter right here, enter the conversion rates of. And then if we go down, it's going to bring up the same conversion rate, like taking the number, taking the British pound and multiplying by 12, and then you get the rate, or you get the new currency. So I guess we're converting 12 US dollars to British pound or Canadian and euro, all into one format. That way you can see all the measurements in comparison to one another. And let's compare it to the pancake measurements. They look very similar. And then we can look at the user input. And there's nothing really different about that. So let's run the conversion rates. And it should give us the same thing, except now, since it's asking us to enter the conversion rates of the British pound, we have to do a little research. So let's go to currency exchange, and we have all of our rates displayed right here. And so the first one that it's asking us for is the British pound, and the British pound is right here. Let's see if we can copy it. And we don't want to go too far, but we don't have to put too many decimals, but we can just select the whole thing. Command C, Command V, press enter. Now it's asking for Canadian. Command C, Command V, press enter. Now it's asking for European. Command C, Command V, Japanese. Chinese, Nigerian, Command C, Command V, and Bitcoin is the last one. Okay. And now it's taking all these numbers, all of the rates, multiplying it by 12, and giving us the end product right here, which was basically the same thing as the pancake converter. But say we didn't want 600, I guess we would change the number here to like maybe 300. And let's try running it again. That way it can be almost like a simple calculator for like ingredients of a pancake recipe. Let's try running it one more time. Okay, so let's try the main, the original recipe measurements. So 1.5 cups of flour, 3 and a half teaspoons of baking powder. One. Yeah. So if we had these measurements for these ingredients and we want to serve 600 people, and then we would have to make 56.25. They're large numbers. It's not really realistic because it's who would want to do 131 tablespoons of baking powder, but it's accurate. So that's the whole thing. Thank you.